welcome to the 10th episode of the Royal Duck podcast. My name is Prarthana and I'm so glad to have you here. So, today's episode is going to be part 2 of a series called Legendtastic, in which I talk about different fun facts and stats about various legendary players, different men and women who helped shape the game to what it is in today's time. If you're interested in part 1, it's on WG Grace. You can check out the other episodes too. So, in honor of the upcoming Women's World Cup, today's episode is going to be on Myrtle Maclagan. So, if you don't know who Myrtle Maclagan, it's perfectly okay. Stay tuned. And if you do know her, stay tuned because you may learn a fun fact or two about her. So, Myrtle Maclagan, if you don't know who she was an English player all the way back in like the in 1930s. She really helped shape up and pioneer women's cricket, and she was like this absolute trailblazer. And so obviously, like, you can't really describe such an impactful person in just couple of sentences the way I did, but stay tuned because you will really know the impact she had on women's cricket when by the end of this episode. So let's start off. So Myrtle Ethel Maclagan, she was born on 2nd April 1911 in Ambala, British India. So that's a fun fact for you. She was born in India, and she basically started her cricket career since her childhood, where she attended Royal School in Bath, where she played for their cricket team for about 6 years. Once even taking a fifer in a match, like in an inter-school match. So you can already see she was quite a legend in her childhood. So that's a fun fact for you. And now, so let's come to different fun facts and stats because we've already gotten to a good start. So, Myrtle Maclagan was a true all rounder. So she batted right hand and even was a right arm bowler. Who she played 14 tests for England between 1934 and 1951, and also represented Surrey in domestic matches. So Myrtle Maclagan pioneered women's test cricket. To say helped shape the game is quite an understatement because she quite literally pioneered this. She did a whole lot of firsts uh, in this lovely game of ours. So she bowled the first ball like in women's tests. She took the first wicket and also delivered the first maiden over. She also claimed the first fifer. So basically in her debut match, she ended up taking 7 wickets for 10, and that's like wow. Even now, it's so hard to think of any player who could do that sort of thing on debut. So wow, hats off. And she also scored the first 50 and first century in women's tests. You can see how much of an impact she had in just the 14 matches that she played. And obviously, it was a brilliant debut for. She made her debut at Brisbane in December 1934, where, like I mentioned earlier, she took 7 wickets for 10 runs. And then, while batting, she opened the innings. So, while batting, she ended up making 72 runs. So, that's like 50 and a fifer in the same match. And she, like I mentioned earlier, she also scored the first test century in women's cricket. So this was on 4th January 1935 in Sydney when Myrtle Maclagan she scored 119 runs. And that was a huge landmark, not just for her but for women's cricket. So over her 14 match career, she ended up scoring 1,007 runs at an average of 41.95. So like she just played 14 matches and she had this much of an impact, so it's mind blowing. And so this included two centuries and six fifties. So I think it really kind of puts things into perspective, right? Like, if, let's say, women had the same opportunities that men had back then, I'm quite sure, like, even though it may not be documented exactly, she probably did face some sexism, right? That most women who were like pioneering stuff at that point would have faced. So I think she probably would have experienced some kind of sexism and stuff. And if she had gotten more opportunities like women do have now, like, if you think of most women players now, all end up playing like at least like 50 matches. Like, more like, if you look at the average female player now, they play at least 50 matches throughout their entire career. Imagine if she had the same kind of opportunity, if she did end up playing like 50 matches at least. Just think of the kind of stats she would have had. Like, it's mind-blowing to think that she managed to do so much in just 14 matches. So wow. And not only was she a great batter, she was also an amazing bowler. She delivered 3,432 balls throughout her entire career and claimed 60 wickets. And so that was a bowling average of about 15.58 with three 5 wicket hauls, and obviously the best being 7 for 10, because wow, it's so mind blowing to think that this was just her international stats. Like, these are just figures from her international matches. And now we come to her first class matches. She played around 41 first class matches in which she scored 2,282 runs at an average of 41 and scored six centuries and 11 fifties. So, first class career was also brilliant, and took 185 wickets at an average of 12.02. Like, wow, like, why don't more people know about her? Because, I mean, look at this. And she also had 10 5 wicket hauls and 110 for. I am telling you, people, if you just take a look at what she did with the limited opportunity she got, you'll really start realizing how far women have come when it comes to cricket. Now comes some fun facts about Myrtle Maclagan. So, most people know her to be a brilliant cricketer, but many people don't know that she was also a soldier. She served her country during World War II. So she served as an officer in the Auxiliary Territorial Service and later became the inspector of PT in the Women's Royal Army Corps. In 1966, she was honored with an MBE for her army service. So, not only was this woman a brilliant cricketer, she was also a soldier who served her country during war. So, nearly 30 years after her first Test century, she scored an unbeaten 81 in a match for the combined services against Australia at the age of 52. So, to put things into perspective, most women who play cricket now, they would probably retire in their mid 30s to sort of late 30s, but that's normally around the time when both men and women retire. And and I remember thinking about Sachin Tendulkar a few days back, when he retired in his 40s. Same with Mithali Raj, she retired like sort of in her early 40s. But then, think of uh, someone like Myrtle Maclagan or even WG Grace. There are records of both of them playing matches in their 50s. So obviously, this shows how much of a legend she was. Apparently, she was also a very humorous person. She was known for being down to earth as well. So the Times of obituary described Myrtle Maclagan as a cricketer and soldier who also enjoyed squash, tennis, badminton, and knitting. So obviously, she was someone who's quite athletic, right? Because she not only played cricket and like did huge things for the game of cricket, but she also enjoyed other sports like squash, tennis, badminton. She was also known for maintaining a strong and composed presence on field, which demanded respect and affection. So here's something I want to share with you. When the first few editions of the Ashes were playing, Australia, to to put it in brief, the briefest way in which I can describe it in is Australia really beat England's ass. That's like the shortest way in which I can describe it. Australia really beat England's ass. And so when the first women's Ashes took place and Myrtle Maclagan, obviously, she really just led England to victory. So at that point of time, this was published in the Morning Post when England won against Australia, something which their men struggled to do, but women really did it for them. So this was written in the Morning Post. What matter that we lost, mere nervy men, since England's women now play England's game? Wherefore, immortal wisdom, take your pen and write Maclagan on the scroll of fame. This goes on to show how much of an impact Myrtle Maclagan had. So this it's like so poetic, right? To just look at it. So you can look it up if you want to, because it's probably one of the most famous things you'll ever know about her. So, yeah, that's it for today's episode. I hope you've learned a thing or two about Myrtle Maclagan and about how she pioneered women's tests. And also, I guess it puts things into perspective about how far women have really come in women's tests. And where don't forget where it started and who help bring the game to what it is. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.